Welcome to Master of Orion 2 Battle of Antares. As before, I'm going to be streaming a game and talking a bit about what I think of it, what I like about it. Sometimes the game will be a kind of prototype or older game of mine. Sometimes it's going to be like a classic game like this one. And I'm going to talk a bit about like what makes it interesting, what makes it good, what I like about it, and how it's kind of influenced some of my own design ideas. Master of Orion 2 in particular has, as you'll see, some really obvious things which inspired Airships Conquer the Skies. Yeah, as before, as usual, I have here my trusty iPad, so if you are listening in and have any live questions, do ask and I'll be very happy to answer them. Yeah, so for now, let's dig into the game. Hopefully this whole recording setup will work. I'm running this on Linux through DOSBox with a bunch of settings, and it will hopefully actually work correctly. If it messes up, probably, I'm sorry. Okay, let's go in there. Okay, so Master of Orion 2 is your classic 4X game where you have some kind of empire which you build up and like build bases, you research, you conquer stuff and so on. And it's kind of the great granddaddy of 4X space games. There was actually Master of Orion 3 as well, which was horrible and awful. If I ever want to hurt myself, I'm going to do a Master of Orion 3 stream where I just play it and complain relentlessly about just how bad it is. And it's like a fourth one in the works now, which might be interesting. It's a really kind of tough thing to, live up to after all of this time. So let's play it and kind of see what it's actually like. Oh yeah, and finally, if you want to play this, it's like $5 at GOG.com, so very easy to get, very much worth it. Okay, so let's start making a new game. Okay, so basic settings, I'm going to go for merely hard here. Impossible is a bit awful. Going to go for a large galaxy with 6 aliens in it, kind of fairly normal settings. Obviously you want tactical combat. I have no idea why you wouldn't want tactical combat. It's like one of the best things in the game. Random events and lanterns as well. Yeah, why wouldn't we put that in? Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so this is the first cool thing. You get to design your own alien race. Well, you can pick one of those, but why would you? That's really boring. As you can see, they're all kind of hilarious alien stereotypes. Oh look, there's the sexy space elves, right? But let's just not get into the exact vibes I'm getting here, okay? And like the insectoids and so on. So we're going to do a custom alien. We still have to pick an appearance. I'm going to pick those silicoids because I think they look cool. Okay, so this works on the basis of a point system. We get 10 points. We can spend on various abilities. We can also nerf ourselves to various areas to get another 10 points to spend additionally. I'm just going to hit clear for starters so we get your kind of baseline. Then you can change population growth, various output values like food, industry, science and money, various combat and spying things, and then you have the government type, which makes a big difference in basically what the rules are for how you produce stuff and what you need and so on, and then a whole bunch of special abilities which can really change how the species actually plays. Now, one recurring thing with Master of Orion 2 is that I think it's really nice that they really were very creative about what they put in. They put in a lot of options, they put in a lot of cool stuff, but the game balance is highly dubious. Like here, if the point values of these things are wrong. Let's pick trans-dimensional is worth 5 points, so it's pretty expensive. What does it do? It makes your ships fly slightly faster. That's about it. So that's worth like 2 points at best. And on the other hand, you have something like subterranean, which like doubles or triples the amount of space you have on the planet to put people on there, which is just super duper powerful. So yeah, in the end you end up not using some of these options just because they're obviously bad. For now I'm going to go with what's probably kind of my favorite build, which is a kind of a expansionist build. I mean, even taking into account that there's a bunch of things which are badly balanced, there's still a lot of space for trying out different strategies. So I'm going to pick Subterranean, which means you get lots more space, which means you get lots more work, which means, like, you know, I just get more population, I get more everything, which is great. Also means there's a little bit less of a pressure to really massively expand, so I'm probably still going to do that. The second thing I want to pick is Unification. Nice thing, you can right click on pretty much everything in the game and it gives you a nice description. Yeah, basically the major point here is here at the end, your industry and food production is literally just increased by half, so that's pretty good. And okay, so now we've already gone over what we're allowed, so I think actually it lets us, that might have changed, it seems to let us do this, which is a bit daft. Used not to, but this is like a heavily patched version. Well, it's really amazing they did like patches for this game, like the last patch is like a decade after the game was released or something, so that was very nice. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to nerf a bunch of things which you can easily compensate through technology. Money income, you can get tech to fix that. Ground combat, again, that's like, you can fix that, those 2 points, by getting laser rifles, so whatever. Spying, that's sort of painful, but the espionage system is not very good here anyway. Like, it doesn't do much, I find, so we might as well nerf that. Okay, so now we have more points to play with, and what I'm going to do with these points is I'm going to put one extra into food and one extra into production, and now that just means basically what this race does, it's supercharged production, it's supercharged food, because of course the plus 50% also applies to this, and it has lots of space, and it's not very good at anything else, but that's fine, because hey, I mean, we're going to have so much food, we're going to have so many people, we're going to have so many so much industrial capacity that everything else we can just pay for. Totally. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I love this sort of point-based setup for advantages and disadvantages. It's something which, I mean, a fair amount of role-playing games and so on obviously do. I really wish strategy games would do it more often, because I mean, it just adds a huge amount of replayability in terms of what you can do. I mean, in Civ 5 or something, you have like what, lots, like 30 different civs to play with, but I mean, if you think about the number of combinations here, there's like, I don't know what, tens of thousands of different setups you could try. Okay, to my name, pick a color, which incidentally also determines what the ships are going to look like. I really quite like the white ones. Okay. Okay, here we go. So here's the main interface. This over here is us, our home system, which we have to name. There we go. And now we can have a look. We can look at our system. We can look at the little fleet we've parked here. So we look at the system and we can see this is a colony of ours. This is our home planet. We still have lots of space in there. We have only 8 of 18 population that's been used up. Like, there's no overpopulation in Master of Orion 2. Like, when the planet's full, it just sort of stops. Which is not, sadly, not what really happens in real life, but never mind. And then we've got 2 other planets in our star system. We've got this large tundra planet, which is rich in minerals and absolutely amazing. The only downside is that it has really heavy gravity, which means that basically all of our productivity gets halved. but still, that's, I mean, we can fix the heavy gravity eventually, and it's really nice. So I might actually go and grab that immediately and get an early start on having a second base. Finally, we have some asteroid fields and a gas giant, which are useless for colonies. Okay, then the other thing here is we have a fleet. We just have a little starter fleet of 2 scout ships and a colony ship. We can select and deselect these ships and tell them where to fly. Now, if you play Airships Conquer the Skies, you've probably just gone, oh, this looks familiar. Yes, this is basically the same interface as the fleet interface in Airships. So if you ever wondered, hey, why does it have this really weird interface with like selecting and deselecting your ships? That's why I'm used to this. I think this works really well. So blame Master of Orion 2, right? Okay, so we've got a bunch of stars here around us, and there are 3 which are in our fuel range. So the nice simplification here is that like individual ships don't have like a fuel quantity that they're stored or something. You basically just have a range outside your base as to which you can fly. So there's kind of an invisible kind of, you know, radius going through about here of our fuel range. God knows why it's invisible. It would actually be sort of useful for it not to be. Never mind. And actually these things have, you can right click, these things have extended fuel tanks, they have a bit more range, and so that lets us explore some of those first stars. So I'm going to send this guy here, going to send this lady over here. I'm just going to leave the colony ship back at home because the colony ship's really expensive and I really don't want it to be blown up by space monsters. Finally, we should go and actually tell our colony what to do. So here's the individual colony screen, and you can see they're producing, there's basically 3 jobs for colonists and you manually assign them. So this is a little bit like how Civ does it, but it's actually kind of simpler because there's no tiles or anything. Like you can think of the entire planet as a single tile, and we can just say what kind of jobs each person should do. So it's automatically set it to enough people to produce food. And here you can see now this is really nice. We produce like 9 food. You'd usually produce 4, so you'd actually need many more people in farming. So the fact that we have such a high food output right at the start means we have like 50% more people to assign to some other job. I'm going to grab all of these guys and assign them to construction, because I want to build a colony base immediately. So that lets me colonize a, it's basically an interplanetary colonization ship rather than an interstellar one that lets me colonize that tundra planet here, which I sort of liked. Okay, so that's more or less it. Quick overview of the info on the right here. This is how much money I have and how much money I'm making, 1 extra per turn. This is command points. So this is another system which actually I really like. Basically each starship you build requires 1 or several of these command points. And so if you, I can click on this actually, give you an info. So each of, like right now I'm generating 6 points and I'm using up 3. And for each command point, which I don't have and need, I need to spend 10 gold, 10 BC per turn, which is a huge amount. So basically, you can go over it, but it gets painful. But the point here is it basically really biases you towards having fleets of a small number of big starships, which is good because it means that then you can kind of conduct your fights in a reasonable amount of time. You don't have kind of a huge amount of overhead kind of organizing everything, because you're never going to have, unless you get really crazy, I mean even in the end game you're going to have like what, 20 or 30 ships, not like 500, and like most of the time you just have like 4 warships, so that's pretty easy to keep track of because it penalizes you so much. And the point is like, say a battleship costs 4 command points, but it's vastly more powerful than 4 frigates. So you pretty much always want to build the biggest ship you can build because it's a more efficient use of your command points. Food, that's just your global food supply. Vectors, which are used to move food in between planets, so you can use some planets for food production and others for something else like science or industry. And finally here we have the research thing. So this is also somewhat unusual. Like most of these games have a research tree with like dependencies and so on. In Master of Orion 2 you have 8 strands of research that run in parallel that don't have any dependencies in between them. And moreover, at each level of each strand you have anywhere in between 1 and 4 choices, and you only get to research 1 choice. So if I research, say, biospheres here, then I don't get hydroponic farm and vice versa. You can still get it by trading it or stealing it or conquering a planet that has it, so you're not permanently locked out of the tech, but you can't get it through research. And it's sort of weird and a bit intense. Like I thought previously, like maybe a way of doing the system would be that just like the second and the third tech would be exponentially more expensive, and that would be a bit less crazy. But on the plus side, it also kind of guarantees that not everyone has exactly the same tech. Like you're gonna meet, like when you meet aliens, they're gonna have some tech which you don't have, and vice versa. Rather than everyone just following roughly the same research tree. For now, speaking of research, the thing which we really want is a research laboratory, because that's going to really boost our research output at the start, which is what we want. Okay, so that's pretty much it for first turn setup. I'm going to have to go away quickly because I actually need to plug in this computer so it doesn't run out of power in about 10 minutes. Okay, that's fixed. We can continue playing some Mutual. So we've done all of the setup for our first turn. We've kind of told our ships where to go. We've started building a secondary base in our star system, and we're eventually gonna do some research on research labs. Right now, because there's no one on science, we're actually making 0 progress. But never mind, let's hit end turn. And well, yeah, our ships are moving a bit. We've accumulated some money. End turn again. Okay. So first new star system down here, Rigel. And what have we got? We've got a small toxic planet and a large, poor, barren one with gold deposits. That's just about marginally not awful. This one is really bad. So let's keep looking. Going to tell this one to move up here, which is the third star system that we can easily reach. If we don't find anything useful on those star systems, I might have to build some outposts to try and find a decent location for our first off-system colony. Because like colony ships are so expensive to build. Like the first one, you have like, it would take me like 30 turns to build another one right now. So I want to place it in a decent location. Okay, well that's pretty much perfect. That's like one of the nicest, if not the nicest random encounter. It's a splinter colony. So here's a entire colony on a platter. There we go. Now we have 2 colonies. Nice. Okay, it's not a very competent colony, which is a bit unfortunate, but never mind. So this guy can just about support everyone here. So these ones might as well do something else. So by default I tend to just set them to do housing, which really means increasing population. Just going to set one of them to that, and the other one can actually start doing a little bit of research. But that's nice. Also means we now have a lot more star systems we can reach, so let's keep looking. Also almost, well, let's see what happens. Yad system. Another small barren moon-like place, not the most exciting, so let's move this one here. And let's also move our colony ship to Yozeki. That should be safe, and also wherever you're going to colonize is almost certainly going to be up here now, so it's going to make it a bit closer. I really like this screen here. It's very functional. I can basically administrate the entire colony, my entire empire, just from this one screen. Like one of the things that, so the core problem with any kind of 4X game, in my opinion, is just that most of the time to play it well, you have to do a really expansionist strategy. But that means that by the mid to late game, you have so many units, bases, buildings, whatever you make, that it just becomes a nightmare. It becomes really boring to actually do all the work of administrating this stuff. You know, you want to do the cool bits, but you actually spend most of the time just kind of doing logistics and giving obvious orders and so on. And Mu 2 isn't exactly free of this problem, but it's a little bit less bad, because at least you have really nice overview screens like this one, where you can, like, you know, you can see a lot of your empire in one go, and you can administrate it like that. Okay, next turn, the Woo system. Okay, this is another rather dubious place, so let's keep looking. Aha, okay, Space Crystal. That's, so here's your first glance of the combat mode. That just consisted of the crystal like vaporizing my scout with like an energy beam about the size of the scout. So see, this would be really nice. Like these space monsters have this weird tendency to know exactly where to go to annoy the player. So here's like a ultra rich, huge planet with a beautiful biosphere that's like perfect and full of willing natives ready to till the fields. So amazing. But right now we have no chance of blowing up this crystal. Still a good kind of medium-term goal. Sabaki system. Also useless. Okay. One more star system. Come on. Last star system. Give us something to work with. Okay, so this colony base here is ready. We're gonna plonk down our colonist here. And then we're gonna just set this one to housing for now. Oh, excellent. So that last star system is finally not a complete disaster. Quite sure which one of these would be better to colonize. Probably the ocean world. But then we can build a colony base and go for the other one as well. Okay. So we finished this colony base here, which means we're just going to set everyone to finally get research labs, because we need research labs to actually get somewhere with science. So I'm going to send this colony ship over to Vaples. And yeah. So we now have 3 colonies already at this point, which is very good. We're about to have 4, so that's huge speed of expansion actually. But well, they're not amazing colonies, but at least we have lots. Okay, gonna whatever. Colonize this place. Now this guy's actually producing a vast amount of food surplus, because ocean worlds are really good for farming, which means that we now globally have a lot of food, but it's all kind of split up. It's sort of okay because we can sell it. I'm not sure who we are selling it to exactly, given that like we haven't met any aliens. But there's some subtext suggesting that like these are just like the major alien races, and like there's maybe minor ones kind of off screen. But would nevertheless be quite good if we had some freighters, so we could be a bit more efficient about this. So I'm just going to retask homeworld quickly to build a freighter fleet. Ah, and here's some aliens. It's the Gnolam. Well, they seem very happy to meet me. Yeah, okay. Yeah, whatever. Okay. Okay, let's have a look at them. This is the diplomacy system, and we can do a report on them and kind of see what they're like. Ruthless diplomat. It could be worse. Do they have any tech? Oh, they have anti-missile rockets. That's the worst. They have literally just researched anti-missile rockets, and that's all. Well, let's talk to them. These guys are the kind of trading type race, so if we can get them to do a trade treaty, then they will temporarily like us. Nope, okay, they hate us. Never mind. Let's hope that they don't like combat murders too quickly. Okay, so setting these guys back to research. Still going after that research lab, but now we have got some surplus food sloshing around. Like we might move one of these over here, or maybe over here, do some extra research, and yes indeed, here. So now we have perfect food efficiency and we produce more research. Oh well, okay, this is actually good. It's actually good that the star system between me and Gnolam is completely empty, so empty that you can't even build a refueling post there, because that makes it a bit harder for them to come and invade me and murder me. Okay, so okay, there's one more star system here kind of towards the center to explore. We'll do that. Okay, so nothing of interest, but it does have a stable wormhole. And some more aliens. Oh great, the Sacra. They're not the bestest people to start up next, because oh, so I'm getting some replies on Twitter actually. So my friend Bhakti just said, well, the thing with Master of Orion 3 is that it's one of those great games you sort of wish never existed, because it has such a stifling effect on improving the Space for X game. And I think that's a fair point to make. Mutu looms so large that any game you make is going to be measured by its yardstick. And moreover, it's not even going to be measured against actual Mutu, it's going to be measured against people's joyful, like, teenage memories of playing it when they were kids and had so much fun and whatnot. I actually do think it's a really good game, but like I think nostalgia has an additional factor that makes it really, really hard to kind of go beyond that. And it's sort of funny. I mean, you had Master of Orion 3, which sort of tried to improve the game and, in my opinion, failed horribly. You have things like Free Orion, which is this big open source project to create the kind of open source. I think originally it was meant to be an open source version of Master of Orion. It's now kind of turned into a Master of Orion inspired kind of game. And, well, it might turn into something else at some point, but we don't really know. In my opinion, really, in relation to Master of Orion 2, I'd like to see two things. One thing is I would like to see exactly Master of Orion 2, like just literally a clone of it, where the only things they fix is the balancing of the game, the AI, make that a bit smarter, and, you know, make the graphics a bit prettier, 3D, modern looking kind of stuff, and that's it. Okay, make the networking, like, use modern networking stuff so you can, like, you know, use whatever Steam to find people to play against, and that's it. Like, leave the game exactly as is rather than trying to improve on it. That's one thing I'd like to see, and the other thing which I'd like to see is, yeah, some Space for X games which just say, okay, to help with Master of Orion 2, let's make a game that does things completely differently. you know, let's throw off, because I mean, a lot of the bits where Master of Orion 2 is kind of dubious is also the bits where it tries to be too much like Civilization, I think. Like the whole base building expansion, fundamentally geared towards the expansionist playstyle kind of thing, is something it's inherited from Civ. The relatively too much micromanagement as well, and I think if you went for a kind of, okay, let's throw this out and make, you know, let's see what we actually care about 4X, about like, I guess, this feeling of making a kind of a space empire and having interesting decisions and cool stuff and so on, you could end up with quite a different design. But hey, I mean, for now, let's play this. I do actually have a whole list of concrete ideas what you could do to make a game that sort of really tries to move beyond Master of Orion and Civilization and so on. And it's still recognizably a 4X game, but it does a whole lot of things really differently. It simplifies some stuff quite radically just to try and concentrate down on the interesting bits of the gameplay without making a light game for like casual players. Okay, anyway, here's the Sacra. The Sacra breed like crazy and are generally aggressive, but at the other end of this wormhole, so, well, that's nice for them. They can stay over there, I will stay over here. Here's a hero character. Unfortunately, it's a really bad one, so let's ignore him. Okay, so we have our research lab now. So what's the next thing that we want? Well, it's an interesting question. I think we can go three ways now. We have some potentially aggressive aliens nearby, so one option would be to immediately try and take up to a better industrial capacity that lets us build some warships, not to fight them necessarily, but like the AI does use your fleet size as an indicator of how delicious you look. And so if you don't have some decent warships in orbit somehow, then it's going to get very excited about conquering us. Or we could go, if you go biology route, after this one, in the next tier, we get Cloning Center, which is amazing in terms of increasing population growth. And finally, we could also like research titanium armor. Going down that way would like actually give us warships that would be worth a damn and would let us shoot that space crystal. But I think the best thing to do is to pretty much do it in that order which I just said. So let's do the industry first, then the lots of babies, and then the actually useful warships. So we're going to do reinforced hull here, which will be useful for our ship designs as well. Now let's go into our colonies and actually build those research labs. So the start with these always is that to produce a certain base amount of research or production, whatever, and to give a bonus per worker. So it can be useful to build these buildings even on planets which aren't even like, don't even have anyone assigned to it. If you really want to boost your research, just build research labs everywhere with skeleton staff, so to speak. Okay. So I don't think we have anywhere else left to explore. Ooh. So Bhakti writes, ship design is the crafting system of the 4X. Tedious busy work that makes creating interesting combat near impossible. Well, actually I completely disagree on that one, because I'm making a game about ship design where like the whole idea is that hopefully the combat will be interesting. On the other hand, I do think that obviously ship design is another one of those golden casks which arguably just need to be stabbed and replaced by something else so you can have a different and more interesting experience. I didn't quite know about that. Ship design is definitely one of those things that you know, lots of later games kind of copied from Mutu as being this cool thing. Okay. Okay, we've got a research lab on our home system, home planet. We need to reorganize our food production a bit again. Yeah, you could do housing. Like this 100 planet with heavy gravity isn't exactly good for farming, so let's, you know, ignore it for that purpose. Just forging ahead with research for now. We've got our hull. Let's do automated factories now. Automated factories are basically the research labs of industry. So like, to give you some bonus. Nice thing is you can instantly move population in between planets in the same solar system. So I'm actually using Zarconia 4 here as a kind of breeding planet for my home system, for my home planet, to try and you know, get more babies more quickly, so I can do more research. Okay, now we're pulling actually quite a decent amount of research. Which has useful results. We have now automated factories. Now usually actually at this point I will be going, oh okay, finally automated factories, let's build our second colony ship with them. But this time we already have a lot of colonies and we don't really have any good candidates for additional colonies. Well, we have one, but that one's next to an existing one, so we can just build a base. So we're going to skip that bit of my usual kind of starting strategy and head straight on to the ability to make more babies. Biospheres, more aliens. Humans! Okay, now they're being nice to me. That doesn't mean very much. They're pretty backstabby if I remember correctly. But hey, maybe they want to do some kind of research treaty. Let's go talk to them. Nope, maybe trade one. Nope, everyone hates me. Okay. Let's just kind of go around a bit and see if we can do some kind of treaty. Well, not with those guys. So there they have the repulsive choice activated, which means that like it's worth lots of points in the race chooser, but also means that you can't actually do proper diplomacy. Come on, let's do a trade treaty. No, apparently everyone does not like me. Never mind. Carrying on with my biospheres. Got those. Cloning center. Okay, now I actually think the next thing we want to do here, just for sanity and safety's sake, is let's take Zarconia 2 here, home planet. Build an automated factory, and then let's build like a cruiser size warship, which we shall call Defender 1. Give it reinforced hull. Oh yeah, so this is the infamous ship design thing here. It's now, this isn't very much like airships conquer the skies. I actually like how simple this is. Obviously with airships, like the ship design is like the major point of the game, whereas here it's one of the components. So like ships are just bags of weapons and special systems. But within that you have lots of different weapons with lots of different characteristics, and you have lots of special systems which do lots of cool things, including sometimes interact in weird ways that break the game. Yeah. So these guys, we're just going to give them nuclear missile launchers with 2 nukes in there per tube. So this is your, doesn't need a targeting computer because you only need that for beam weapons. So this is your kind of really basic standard early game military ship. It's just a tub with a bunch of missiles on, and then you hope that your missiles blow up the enemy and the enemies don't blow up yours. So it will do as a kind of stopgap if my enemies actually attack, but its main point really is just to be a warship. So their strategic calculus goes, oh, they have a warship, they're not completely defenseless. Okay. Now this guy, this director relayer, the siren, is kind of nice because, like, so spiritual leader is sadly pointless for me because that influences the morale value, and unification doesn't have a morale value. That's like the downside. You get a big upfront productivity gain for industry and food, but everyone else has this morale value, which you could use to also increase productivity of everything, including science, once you get stuff that decreases morale. But the other stuff's actually really nice. Diplomat would be good because that might actually let me finally make some treaties. And famous basically means that everyone else I hire is going to be cheaper and is going to be more likely to actually turn up. So all in all, I will actually hire her. And I've also built my ship. So now hopefully at the diplomatic level, I'm now a little bit less considered completely harmless or irrelevant or whatever. Okay, Zirconia 4 has produced more babies. I'm just going to relentlessly shuffle them over to the home planet. There we go. And we continue working in our cloning center. Okay, now let's see if we will have any more luck talking to our dear friends now that we have A, warship, and B, some diplomatic competence. Humans. How about a research treaty? Okay, now they're more, you know, talkable with. You guys? How about research treaty as well? No, still no? Maybe trade one? No? Okay, they still hate my guards. Yeah, okay. But we now have our exciting new warship here. Capable of, like, perhaps not dying in really minor engagements. Now we have our cloning center. Cloning centers basically produce 1/10 of a population per turn. So if you plonk one of those down on a planet, your population grows really rapidly, which is great because more population means more everything. Okay, so we've got that. Now we're going to be actually spending some time just building these cloning centers everywhere. But once we've done that, the next thing we really kind of want to do is defeat that space crystal. Because if we could do that, then we could colonize the planets in that star system, which are really yummy. So to do that, we basically need better armor and we need better missiles, which is all chemistry. So we're going to choose titanium armor here. As you can see, all the tech names are just made out of sci-fi references. We have our titanium armor, you know. Titanium is not a thing, but it's a thing in sci-fi. We have plasma torpedoes somewhere as well. Okay, so let's go in here and basically just tell everyone to go to cloning center already. So this is now the bit where, you know, start getting a bit of the old of the old kind of admin make work, where basically I have to tell everyone to do the same thing. But that's okay. Oh, Ember says, Mutu, I love that game. Yeah, I mean, I'm playing this for you partly because it's just, I think it's an amazing game. I think it really stands up very well. I mean, obviously the graphics aren't fancy, but okay, like, I think people really get kind of anchored in their idea of what good graphics are, or like proper graphics are, on the basis of when they started playing games. And for me, these are like proper graphics. Okay, I mean, sure, they're not like snazzy, they're basically static, they're not like, you know, super high quality art, but they are clean, they represent like the things you want to, the things that they are pretty clearly. Like this works for me. Like I really feel like this sort of mid-90s era was the era in which like game screens were the easiest to read, because what happened like before that was that the resolution was low, the font rendering was terrible, the UI was a bit dubious and so on. And what happened after that was that everyone went like, oh yay, 3D is the most amazing thing ever, let's make all of our everything out of like 3D models which have like 9 polygons, and like everything just exploded into this polygonated mess which you couldn't actually understand. And now we're kind of at the point where really real-time rendered graphics are now as schmancy as really schmancy offline rendered graphics were in the 90s. And so it looks like, you know, all that you can't see the polygons anymore because the quality is good enough, and now it's 3D. But essentially we spent like 20 years kind of going back a huge step and then going forwards again until we had this kind of, now I feel like games, even strategy games and so on, again I find like they're easy to read visually, because the stuff on the screen actually looks like the things it wants to represent. And in between that there was like a hideous wasteland of like a decade and a half where you sort of had to pretend that these weird polygons were trees. So yeah. Also, another nice thing that Mutu does is like, it's this weird disease with space, with science fiction games, is that somehow people who make science fiction games like have perfect eyesight and hate everyone. Like, if sci-fi games always have tiny fonts which are like in blue on a black background, that's or white on the background. The fonts are always tiny. Just because I don't know, because like information overload feels good to these people who make it, and like this is so cool, you know, this is like an 800 x 600 screen, and it's still rendering these tech names at like quite a big pixel size. Like this is very legible, like, you know, it's kind of, my grand could read this without glasses legible, which is nice. It makes the whole screen a lot easier to read. So yeah, I find it very ergonomic to deal with. Okay, we have our first cloning center. You know, something which I sort of tried to do with airships as well. I don't think I super well succeeded there. It's actually, well, I mean, the ship design is so much more complicated that there's a lot more small text. But I still sort of try to, like, you know, not just have endless, not to have anywhere in the user interface which is just a giant table of numbers or text or something, because that feels very boring and kind of makes your eyes glaze over. Okay, so now these guys are producing like an extra 100k of population per turn, which is nice. Continue building titanium armor. Okay, got another thing on the way here. Okay, now we've got this armor. Now we do need to do more tech research in this direction, because we also need decent missiles and we need these battle pods which will increase the space on our ships, and then we're kind of heading towards like having the right tech to make warships that aren't a complete embarrassment. Okay, another cloning center online, which is nice. Okay, random event. Bad thing happened to some aliens, we don't care. Good thing happened to us, battle pods. Okay, so now if we get this one, the pollution processor, I think we have the bare minimum to basically make a big tub full of missiles, or like 2 big tubs full of missiles, which you can use to blow up this, the space crystal. Okay, so what would I change? What would I do completely different with games like this? Well, so it's possible that like the ideas I have for making a kind of Space 4X games are too much. Oh, because this one's now completely full of people, which means we either want to build some biospheres, which will give us a little bit more space. But while they're being built, we can now do the reverse. We can now start moving people from Zirconia 2 to Zirconia 4 and get them like, so we have some space here again, and we can start filling up this second place, and also probably build a cloning center on here. More babies. So yeah, like my ideas are probably too much of just a reaction to the kind of, oh nice. So this one just increases industry by 20%, which I am very happy with. So these leaders basically need to get assigned to a particular star system. I will just assign this one to the home system, which will be very useful when I build my big fleet in a bit. Okay, this one's also full. That means, no, is there? No? Okay, so this one's not just sort of done. So I guess build a biospheres and then build a star base. Just bloody expensive, but we need it to have some defenses. So, you know, let's set you to industry for now. Kind of finish off this planet and make it properly defended and everything. So what would I do to make a game like that less horribly complicated in the end game? Well, one thing is I would change the way that you colonize to basically just having outposts for most of the game. Because like, okay, the question is like, you know, how many people can you shift through space? Your home, like in this game, like your home planet starts out with 8 population units, and I think they even denotated in millions, which is obviously wrong. I mean, like, you know, if you take humanity as a baseline, that should be 8 billion people, and if you have a colony ship that sends one population unit over to another star system, then we're talking about taking 1 billion human beings, getting them out of orbit, shifting them across like half a dozen light years and dropping them again. This is, you know, insane. This is not going to happen. This is like requires vastly more tech, vastly more power than like just sending like a probe or like a little starship with 3 people over to the other system. So actually the gap, like, okay, I mean scouts are like much cheaper than colony ships here, but like actually the gap should be like 3 orders of magnitude bigger. Like you can build a scout in 1 turn, you can build like a colony ship in 10,000. So, and obviously, you know, you can just ignore this, it's a game, but I think it points in an interesting direction, which is to basically say, well, okay, there's a difference in between everyone who's on the planet and the people who actually need to run some kind of outpost. Why do you even go out there? And I think the big answer is basically go out there to either claim territory, to do science, or to do mining of like some rare materials or something. And so the idea is that instead of building fully fledged colonies, for most of the game all you're building are outposts for mining or for research and whatever. And again, because space travel is sort of expensive, for most of the game your home system is basically unassailable. Like you can't be knocked out of the game because like you can just build giant orbital missile bases or ground-based missile bases that will just blow everything up out of the sky. So for the idea is that for most of the game really you're engaging in kind of a Cold War where you blow up each other's bases or you kind of extort each other or oh, and the other thing is like like this is something that some games have, like Move 3 kind of tried to do this, that you have lots of minor species, so not everyone's at the same tech level. And so again, it's a kind of Cold War situation where you spend a lot of time just fighting over these minor species, because like the thing is, well, okay, they're kind of primitive compared to you, but there's still like several millions or billions of them on this one rock, and so if you can get them to do what you want, I mean, even if it's just literally using a shovel to dig rocks out of the ground and giving you the ones that like are green or something, that's still really handy. So you kind of have this big Cold War about influence on minor races for most of the game, and really only in the end game, when we're kind of talking super hyper-tech stuff, does it really become feasible, too easy to directly attack each other. And so the idea is that tech-wise, eventually, when you get to the very high-tech stuff, it kind of becomes a final battle royale where you do just try to take each other out. But until that point, it's more a question of can you maneuver yourself into a position of strength. And because these are just outposts, the idea is that you can't build like 500 different kinds of buildings on these outposts or anything like that. They're pretty simple. And most of the interesting decisions really come from how do you interact with the minor species, where do you build the outposts, what kind of outposts do you build, but most of the tech advances are just applied globally, like you get some tech and instantly all of your outposts are like this amount better or something. And so all of this is just in service of basically preventing that mid to late game explosion of options where you have a lot of options and they're all boring. If that would work, I don't know. It's something I want to prototype at some point, but you know, I'm trying to not just run around prototyping too many things, because then I'll probably get distracted from airships. Okay, so here, pollution control facility lets us further boost industrial output. So we've got all of these basic things now. Now the next thing which we sort of really want is here inside computers. One level up is planetary supercomputer, which is pretty much 2 research labs glued together. And that, if we get that, that will really kind of supercharge our research ability. And in between, we're going to choose neural scanner, which just gives us a bonus to espionage, which is good because we're bad at this. At some point we need to build some spies to compensate, to defend against enemy espionage and sabotage, so they don't steal all of our cool tech. Okay, so now we're basically at the point where we can try, and maybe fail, but we can try to blow up this crystal here and get a whole bunch of new places to conquer. So let's go in here. So after the biospheres, please build a production processor, and we're going to design like a proper warship. Name field was too short. Yeah, okay, let's just call it Exsanguinator. Does it need? It needs battle pods, so it's big enough. It needs extended fuel tanks, so it can actually reach that star system. It probably wants reinforced hull as well, so it doesn't just get torn to pieces. Then everything else, we're just going to stuff with nuclear missiles, with MIRE, which means lots more boom. Basically really supercharges the damage potential. And then we literally just have a giant 20 missile battery, which will hopefully do enough damage in 1 or 2 shots to blow up our target. Then we say please build the Exsanguinator. Currently says 269 turns, but that's before we switch everyone to can shift these guys to more food production. There we go. Now that should go rather faster. 21 turns. Still takes forever, but at least at the end of that process we will have like a proper big warship that can blow up stuff. As you can see, turns are a little bit faster in this than they are in something like Civ, which I think is good all in all. Okay, no, 10 turns, awesome. So like the pollution process like doubles our industrial production, which is nice. Okay, yeah, you build cloning centers, then you can just continue making babies. Another thing, another simplification that I quite like, much like with the idea of mostly having outposts rather than complex colonies, is making the entire empire only have one build queue. So one of the big reasons for like complexity in these games is that you have like X colonies, right, and they all need to be told what to build, and that can get quite tedious because like okay, there's 30 colonies, they all need something to do, most of them are so tiny that it doesn't really matter, but you still want to tell them to do something, you still want to manage them properly. And so the idea here is to just say no, actually, frankly, like right until the point where you have the tech to really shuffle around vast amounts of matter through interstellar space for relatively cheap, you're going to be doing all of our industry in your home world anyway. Like, and that's where the people are, that's where it's easy. It's going to be much simpler to build anything at all, or anything large at your home world. And by the point where this is no longer true, you have logistics networks that are sophisticated enough that it doesn't really matter where you're building it. So the idea is you, like with the Civ game, you're really talking about a very specific set of circumstances where movement speed is exactly so slow, and the economy of each of your bases is exactly so isolated that you can have like a global money supply, but you still need to build things in specific locations, rather than just choosing where to build them or building them in a central one or something like that. And that's actually kind of that's really only true like on the time scales we usually play these games at, where like one turn is like a year or something. This is just not true. Like you don't, like if you have a year of time to build something, like if your empire is so big that you can't cross it back and forth in a year, then it's not an empire. So if your turn is a year long, or even just a month, then frankly it shouldn't matter. You should be able to say, use my industrial capacity to build whatever I want anywhere within the like borders of my empire. So the only reason I think why this kind of idea persists is that stuff like Civ and hence ultimately Mu is descended from war games, which have much finer time slices. We're talking about like days, as one turn is a day or a few hours, or like at best a week or something, where it does matter. Like it does matter where is your materiel, you know, where's your ammunition, like all of this logistics stuff, all of the supply chain stuff really matters in like a war situation. And that then also makes sense in terms of unit speeds, which is another weird one. Like why does your scout take like in Civ, like you've got like you're like at 3000 BC and each turn is 20 years, but your scout like still requires what, 10 turns to move from one end of your empire to the other? So that's how much? I mean, it's not one scout, it's like an entire tribe, multi-generational kind of movement that's just based around moving from A to B. Like this, like the great-great-grandson of the original scout who arrives at the other end, if we take the timescale seriously. So why don't we just say, okay, let's do away with this complexity and just say like you can build stuff wherever you want, as long as it's within your borders. And arguably, of course, this means that strategic combat gets boring. And that's like the knock-on problem. Then how do you do the large-scale kind of strategy of the fighting in a way where it's not just, well, everyone can move everywhere instantly, so we all meet at the same place and explode. But I think there's ways around that as well, rules-wise. You can come up with perfectly decent reasons why, say, your ships can move really quickly inside your empire and you can't outside your empire or anything like that. Like you need to like build stargates, or you need to like explore the wormholes first, or whatever it is. You know, you can make up some mumbo jumbo reason for that. And Mutu does this a little bit, like right at the end you get a tech which actually lets you move instantaneously in between star systems. But it comes so late that it really doesn't matter. Okay, anyway, what's happened here? Okay, so the game just froze one of my star systems. At least it wasn't like the home system. Never mind. We'll continue building the Exsanguinator. Ooh. Don't attack. Even better, they're willing to give me useful stuff for it. They're willing to give me deuterium fuel cells, which is very nice because that means my ship design doesn't actually need those extended fuel tanks. And the one pollution processor, which is fine, it's not like a super critical tech. So yes, why yes. Okay, so that suggests that like pollution processor is a thing that people want. Let's see if we can trade it to the humans as well. Well, that would require the humans to have any tech that we cared about. Let's go and talk to these again. Maybe they like us more now? Trade treaty? Okay, great stuff. Okay, so now our diplomatic situation is less awful. And we just want to like last minute redesign this Exsanguinator to not have the extended fuel tanks. And instead we're gonna actually change these nuclear missiles around to have there. So I now put in some electronic countermeasures and armored them a bit, which is as I think completely pointless against the space crystal, but does mean that I can then use the same ship without refitting against like actual alien species, because the aliens will have. So I change conveniently. Industrial production just completely is completely fungible in this game, so I can just change what I want to build at the last moment. Okay, that's a bit bad. Okay, so they've just stolen titanium armor, which means that I need a whole lot of spies to defend against the menace. Now we actually have a decent fleet, and now, as I mentioned, we have a huge problem, which is that we don't have enough command points and we're losing money like crazy. What can we do about that? Well, not that much, but we could like just blow up our scout here. There we go. Now at least the money losing situation is less bad. Okay, now we both really want the spies, and we also really want the colony ship. Okay, let's just do the colony ship first. So really want to get to this place and blow this one up and start colonizing this planet. And you shouldn't leave too much of a gap in between when you conquer a place and when you start colonizing it, because then weirdly enough the other aliens notice and swoop in and take your things, which is pretty bad. And you don't want to get into a fight with someone just because they called dibs on a planet you wanted. Okay, so we're sending off our wonderful fleet here. Let's see how badly we are doomed. Okay, so got hit a little bit, but we're still mostly intact. I'm just going to set up some options here. Namely, I want all of these overlays here active. So yeah, the beam does 40 points of damage, so that's okay. We can take a bunch of hits. We can use scan as well on the enemy, and we can see it's basically got this one crystal ray, which hurts but not that much, and it's 500 points of structure. So as long as we can do enough damage with our large number of missiles, which I think we can, we should be fine. Oh yeah. That worked just fine. And hey! We have our star system again. Everything is happiness. We can send our colony ship to the VR system, and I think we're pretty well on the way to doing pretty well here. We've got a fleet, we've got quite a few planets, we have a decent research base. Not all of our neighbors hate us forever, and the ones that hate us most are the furthest away. So yeah, that's probably pretty good. So yeah, I've been playing this for about 1.25 hours. I'm probably gonna stop at this point. Obviously an entire session of Master of Orion 2 takes a little longer, but I need to stand up and stretch and do other things. Like, for example, finish off and release Airship 7.2, which is almost done. So you'd probably like me to go and work on that. So yeah, thank you for watching. As usual, please do subscribe to the channel, and do let me know if you have any feedback about the video, quality, things which I'm doing, things which I shouldn't be doing. And I will see you, I think actually tomorrow is going to be the next stream, which is going to be about airships development. Okay, well, just, no, wrong button. Save this game, yeah. Then I'm going to call it a day. Thank you.